Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, and we have a very special guest with us, Mrs. Susan Axelrod. Susan, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I think you have a very, very special job, and we'd like to talk about it, a philanthropy consultant. So that's someone that I've been doing for years, and we've never had such a person on the show, and I'm sure our view is very interesting. Exactly what does that mean? What is your job?
I work with people to help them consider philanthropy as part of their everyday activity. Many people think that you have to be wealthy to be a philanthropist.
That's what I would think also.
Yes, many
you have $10
people
million
think that's
then.
right. That's right. People think you have to be wealthy. You don't have to be wealthy. Everyone can be a philanthropist, and that's the work that I do. As a philanthropy advisor, I help people think about what's important to them. I don't have to push any single cause. I encourage people to think about what's important to them, and then I work with them to help them try to make an impact in that area.
So someone comes to you and said, I have a lot of money, for example, I'd like to give it, like you say, that's website, as we'll see on the screen, what's your legacy? I want to give it to somebody. We've had people like that before. I've known people like that. So do you lean them one way or the other, saying, hey, I want to just give it to a good cause and I'm not really involved in anything?
Right. The most important thing that I would do in that case, if someone came to me and said, I have a lot of money, I want to do something, I want to make an impact with my resources, is I would ask them questions. I would pull from them. What do you care about? What means something to you? What is important to you? That's where I want it to come from for someone like that person you just described. Because when it comes from them, there's going to be a true, almost tangible, very meaningful connection to the cause, if you will, that they care about. In my work as an advisor, again, I'm not pushing any agenda or cause or organization or, specific kind of, area or issue. And so in that case, that's what I would do. But really, more of what I do is encourage regular people to become philanthropists. So if somebody has resources, I invite them to do something meaningful with their resources. But most people think, what do I have? I'm a regular person, how can I make a difference? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, right. If you have $10 million, you
Right.
figure that's a person philanthropist.
Right, exactly. But most people have something. Most people have something they can do. An example, along the same thinking lines, I encourage them to think about what matters to them. What do you care about? What's meaningful to you? What do you have reason to care about? And then I might help them with strategies to be able to impact that thing they thought of for themselves. Commit to giving something monthly to impact that cause. It doesn't have to be much. It's important that you understand, that I really want people to understand. It doesn't have to be much. What matters is that everyone does this. So if one person can think about giving $10 a month, using their credit card or checks, cash, however they can do it, to a specific cause, and we know that everyone is doing something like that, somebody's going to be able to do $100 a month or even more. That's when we begin to see a true, powerful global impact.
Well, you're not just talking, when I think philanthropies are people give away in their wills. Do you deal with that? Or it seems like from what you're saying, that's really, where does your major thrust
I
after
do both.
They pass away?
Yeah, no, I do both. I work as a philanthropy advisor with people to think about their resources now and later. We can't take it with us. You can't take it with you. And so I'm trained in technical strategies to help them think about that, but I still try to keep it simple, put it in your will. I also work with organizations as a planned giving consultant. And in that work, I help organizations understand that those people are out there, they can't take it with them, and teach them how to speak to people to encourage them to give through a simple bequest in a will, or setting up a charitable trust, or numerous, using life insurance. There's numerous ways that you can do this. I tend to not talk in those technicalities because people get turned off and feel confused, and that comes much later in the conversation.
Just generally would they want to do something, give something.
Right. I start the conversation by asking people, what will your legacy be? And I say, how do you want to be remembered? And I encourage them to think and talk about this. And then I say, how will you be remembered? And the connection is, well, there's how you want to be remembered, but how will you be remembered? Are you living in such a way? Are you caring? Are you giving in such a way as to be remembered in the way that you want to be?
Are you talking about then, I mean, for example, people put their names on the hospital, every wing of a hospital. It's almost like a synagogue over here, like a temple. I always make fun. Everybody gives a donation on a bottle of wine. I says I should put a tag on it. But, you know, the hospitals are like that also, for example. So, I mean, are you say, when you said $100 a month, $18 a month, it's just giving without any recognition, or is it?
Thank you for asking about recognition. I feel that recognition is very important. I don't judge someone who wants to be recognized for their giving. I know people like to be recognized for their giving, and I'm happy that they're giving. So we see plaques, like you're saying, or letters on a building, like you're saying, and very large, generous donations were made in order for somebody to get their name on a building. Again, do most people have enough resources to get their name on a building? Maybe a smaller plaque on a wall, but not so much a building. That's a smaller group of people. So the recognition piece also usually comes a little bit later. There are people with such ego that that's all they want, but that's not really how it works. The way it works is you make a connection with someone about what's important to them, if you're representing a cause or an organization, and you engage them in conversation about why their support is meaningful, how it makes a difference. And then when you move the conversation further to ask them for a specific financial contribution, if it's in that high enough category to receive a naming opportunity like that, then you begin to say, we have these opportunities, is this something you would like to consider? But really, mostly people give because they want to make positive change. And that's really what this is all about. That is the best of what I do. That is the most fun about what I do. I don't beg for a living. I offer people an opportunity to create a meaningful and lasting legacy.
It's very interesting. We had a woman that in our day school, and we didn't even know she was giving us anything until after she passed away. And this is, well, what happened? We asked the lawyers, you know, what was happening. She said that she just asked them what are the Jewish, you know, causes or what schools are there in the area. And we're in Albany, we're not in New York City.
Yeah.
So there you'd have 1,000, but
Yes.
here there's only 2. And she says, all right, I'm going to give in. And she gave a substantial amount. And we really all felt bad. We didn't even know who she was. And then she said, we would have honored her, I mean, for such a thing.
And
you know.
certainly you would have wanted to thank her in her lifetime. Yeah. And that's what I tell people. That's a great story. I love that story. Now, there's a piece that I would like to know. We'll never know. But I would like to know. You said that woman said, what are the Jewish schools? To, I assume, her attorney. And so I'm curious to know if that attorney said to that woman, have you ever thought about creating a legacy somewhere? You have these resources, perhaps she had no other heirs or something like that. What would you like what would you like to do with your resources? How would you like to be remembered? I was speaking with somebody just yesterday who is in his early 60s. He has no dependents, never married. He has a niece and a nephew he will probably remember. But he was telling me about a collection that he has. It's worth $250,000. And, he's thinking about what to do with it. And so I was able to have this wonderful conversation. He's spoken to me. This conversation was already advanced in our relationship, so to speak. But to help him understand that he can leave 100% of what he has to make positive impact in the world. So that's one of the pieces that I also do in my work. I encourage financial advisors and estate planning attorneys to please talk to their clients and say, have you ever thought about creating a legacy? This woman, that's a beautiful story, but she was never able to be thanked in her lifetime.
Just what we have found, maybe personally and I'm sure most people, say when they say legacy, well, I have my children. You just brought that idea up. And that's enough. I'll give it to my kids, and, I'm happy that they're happy, and, I don't need any other causes. Mm-hmm. But how do you sometimes go beyond that? Hey, there's other people in the world besides your 2-3 kids.
Right. We take care of our families first. Well, actually, no, we take care of ourselves first. This is very important. It's important that people understand that we have health concerns and we need to be responsible for those health concerns. So we need to take care of ourselves first. And we should take care of our children in whatever way we want to do that. I have found in working with older people with adult children, I encourage them to have the conversation with their children and say, be open about this, be open about what we have, what we'd like to do for you, and then say, but my college made an impact on me in this way, or I've been a volunteer for so many years with this organization. It's meaningful to me. I'd like to do something for them, but I feel badly about taking away some inheritance from you. What do you think about that? Virtually every time, the adult child will say, of course you should create a legacy at a place that holds such meaning to you. So that...
It's interesting that people really feel that way.
Yes, I find that every time. Now, that's not to say, of course, there are adult children who are not self-sufficient, perhaps maybe not the most responsible, perhaps would like all of the proceeds themselves. Of course that exists, but not generally. Again, another conversation, I had this conversation a few weeks ago with someone who has been a member of a board of a social service organization in this region for 20 years. She's ending her final term as president, and she wanted to create a legacy with this organization. But her advisor suggested, no, leave it for your children. You tell your children what matters to you and they'll do it. There are tax reasons for doing it this way. Well, again, I don't work for that organization. I'm not pushing any agenda, but in my work as a philanthropy advisor, I could say to her, I'd like to suggest that you engage your children in your conversation about this and see what they have to say. See if they really want all those resources, or see how they would feel about you're taking a little slice. That's the way I handle the issue of, well, I want to leave for my family or friends or whatever. I say, just take a little slice. And she came back to me and told me, you were right. They said, of course you should do that for that organization. You're all about that organization.
Yeah, it's very nice that, you have to, I know I deal with, at your level, but, I've dealt with people, and many times it's, the tax attorneys say, well, you can't give charity. Your taxes,
right.
Well, the taxes, I want to give, so I have to have a tax write-off. It's specifically that I want to help,
Right. Here's what I tell people about this very important issue. We know through research that people do not give in order to get tax advantages. We know that people give because they want to make a difference. They want to make positive impact. What I say is, if you want to give and you want to make positive impact, then be smart about your giving. Of course, get the best tax advantages you can. Of course, work with your advisor and do it in as smart a way as possible. I'm dedicated to working with financial advisors to help them incorporate philanthropy into their work with clients and understand that sometimes having a little bit assets under management, having a little bit less assets under management will go a long way in their client relationship if they can help their client create a meaningful legacy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that well, a little bit, I know you don't push any agenda, but, in Jewish, that's really what it is, that, people, you say, well, you're making people give. I says, when people give, they feel so good about themselves.
Yes.
So other people say, give, take. How much you making? How much you making? You make more, you'll be happier.
Yeah.
This is not I mean, fine, it's nice to make money. It's not saying not, of course. But when they give, it's like it's something even more special. A lot of people, I just relate with people like that. The real legacy is, I made $1 million. What are they really happy and satisfied in their life? Hey, I helped so many people out with my money.
Right, exactly. Now, I like money. I like money. Believe me, I like everything about money. The thing I like most is the impact that you can make with your money. And people like me, need to help other people understand that you can still have pretty much everything you want and need, pretty much, and still have enough to do more. So there's two ends of this spectrum. On the one end, there's people who, let's just use that 1% because it's familiar to us now, who are in that 1%. How much do you need? Well, they think they need a lot, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Even people in that category with those kinds of wealth that most of us couldn't even imagine, they have a little extra. They have a little excess, and they know they have a little extra or excess. And so they are giving. They are giving. They're perhaps spending more than other people might want them to, but I don't judge that. I care about their giving. Let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. What do I have? I have nothing. I work in, the supermarket. I bag groceries. I have children to support. My wife, works here. Together we don't make that much. We know, again, through research, that people who have lower incomes give a higher percentage of what they have to make a difference.
You have the statistics, and I have just the gut. Like I say, I go and talk to people. You're more professional, but why do you think that is? I've found that also, and it's like amazing. This person doesn't have that much, and they're helping. And then I go to someone who has the means, and
statistically, I don't know why it is. Factually, I don't know why it is. But colloquially, I know, anecdotally, if you will, I know because they know what it feels like to be without. They know what it feels like. So let's talk about this terrible storm that happened, Superstorm Sandy. Such a tragedy. And we saw, for example, in Breezy Point, if you recall that big neighborhood that burned down, all of the language that we saw those people, talking about on the news and saying to each other is, we are neighbors helping neighbors. They called themselves, we are blue collar workers. We're the working people. We've been through this before. We helped each other before. We're going to do it again. And that's the way they interact. That's the way they think. Now, there's a message around this that I really would like to share. It's so important for people to understand about this storm that happened. Those people who became victims, if you will, storm victims, They lost their homes. They lost everything, everything. Some people didn't quite lose everything, but they lost most. Many of those people would be people who otherwise would be helping others in need. And now they are in need. So the rest of us, whether we have the most or whether we don't have that much, we really do need to do more. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those people, they were going to help others because people do. So of the 100% of storm victims, for example, in this case, some of them were going to be helping others. And now not only can they not help others, but they need help themselves.
So it's a double whammy in
Exactly.
for society.
Exactly. Anytime a terrible tragedy like that happens, that is one of the fallout effects, if you will. That not only do those people need help now, with the earthquakes, with the tsunami, not only do those people need help now, but they were people who would have been helping others. And so I enjoy my work because I just get to encourage people to get outside of themselves a little bit.
Well, that's what I was going to ask also. I mean, do you find that, I mean, I don't know, percentages, if maybe that's the right language, how many people just, hey, just like almost like call them a miser, hey, I'm not giving anything away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some people.
There are,
has
of course,
to be.
of course.
But is it like you think the majority of people are really good? And
here's the way I want to answer you. I don't struggle against and resist with the people who are not going to give. I don't try to convince them. I don't try to encourage them. I don't castigate or even judge them. I just move on. So I don't have facts. I mean, again, anecdotally, I know for sure most people want to do something. Here's what I find, and this is partly how I became a philanthropy advisor, to tell you the truth. Most people, it's a shock to me, it was a shock to me to actually realize this, most people don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it.
how to give, you mean
Yes.
how to give charity.
Yes, exactly. Of course, I mean, you can text to the Red Cross and you can, give into the Red Kettles, or you can give money to your organization, but if you feel like, well, I don't have that much to give, is my little bit of money that I give going to make a difference? Most people really just don't know what to do or how to do. So one of the things I do now is coaching. I literally work with people to help them, again, think about what's important to them, commit to it, because there's a difference between caring and committing. The committing part is the taking action, right? And that's what I want to move people to. And then we figure out how. The rest is all about methodology, because they're like, oh, I want to do this. So the rest is all about how.
I mean, like trust funds are giving in their will.
Again, you're the one who keeps going trust funds. There's a lot of money involved in that. Yes, there's various ways you can do it. Yes, it's very simple to, put an organization in your will. If you have resources, yes, set up a charitable trust. But even if you're a regular person with regular resources, you can commit a monthly giving program, like I mentioned, to one or more organizations. Another thing that I suggest is that after some reflection, self-reflection and discussion with your loved ones about what you might want to do, then you connect with the organization and say, what do you need? You ask them, what do you need? Because a lot of times these things, it's not about actual cash passing hands. Sometimes, the way you become a philanthropist is by making a connection. Just today, it happened today to me. I was talking to my neighbor, and he said, hey, if you ever need a truck to deliver items to people in need, I've got access to trucks. I said, I didn't know that. So now I can become a philanthropist by just facilitating people donating items that are needed, getting my neighbor to donate the truck, and getting the truck to where it needs to go.
I found that other professionals, they says, well, I'm not going to give you cash, but I'll, whenever you need my services, like a lawyer, and
Right.
things like that. And so,
Well, again,
interesting.
this guy has access to big trucks. Certainly lawyers, certainly any professionals. It's a very good way. There's a component, I guess I'll just use this as a teaching moment for you to understand. And for anyone watching, if you're involved with organizations, from a budgetary perspective, this is important. When someone donates an in-kind service, it's important that you value that you actually put a dollar value on that.
I mean, a receipt?
Well, not just the receipt, but from an organizational budgetary standpoint, especially if that's a necessary service that you might otherwise have to pay, you want to be aware of the financial cost of what it would have been in case you do have to pay for it another time. People don't realize what the value is of in-kind services. From an organizational perspective, they don't realize, oh my gosh, it costs that much. So that's important.
You know what, Susan? Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Just have another minute. I have more questions to ask, and this is very intriguing. I think it's also just for all our viewers, it's very, very important because, like I say, people, no one comes to them. How do you give charity?
Yes.
I mean, it sounds simple. Take out a checkbook and write a check. Who can't do that? But who and where and how do I do it, and the tax breaks, and just to gear them or focus them to the right thing. So I thank you very much, but I think we're going to ask you for a second show over here, so we'll have to tune in.
Absolutely.
And this has, I think, been very helpful. It's very important for our viewers to see how to give charity. It's I think it's very, very important. And I thank you, Susan, for being on the Jewish View.
Thank you for having me.